Hey everyone, right, here's the video that I've been wanting to do for a few days now with reference to POW Edge. So I wanted to start from the beginning and explain how POW Edge has got to where it is now. So you get a bit of an understanding about that journey and why we why we created and added some of the settings and stuff we did. But also the main purpose here is for you to understand how you can use it the way you want. Yeah, that's the main thing here. This is a tool. You can automate it or not. You can use it as something to support your own, analysis or however you trade, or you could hop on a charts for a few hours a day and execute manually. There are numerous ways to do this. Yeah. So in terms of why they're different, well, the Banker EA is an EA. The Edge strategy sits in TradingView as an indicator. That was how we first set out to create Edge, almost 2 odd years ago or whatever. And that was, if you can see on screen now, just to give you where the trend is, when the trend's looking to change. And there was some discretion involved around, okay, so how long are we going to hold this trade? What take profit are we looking for? But the main thing was around the stop loss, yeah, and how we were going to manage that. So at first, we traded this by looking also at hour 1, hour 4, and suggesting to people that, look, okay, so we've got to sell up here. You could create a stop loss above the last high. You could create then a risk to reward denomination from that if you wanted. If that's 1R, you could create a take profit 2, 3, or 1, whatever you want to do. Or you could hold this trade until we get a reverse signal. So as you can see on screen here, this was under our previous branding, which was Blue FX. We had the sell, we had the buy. That would have been a huge move, yeah? And then this buy, to be fair, on this example played out. Now this is on my TradingView profile. You can click my profile, click scripts, and there's an explanation, yeah, of what this does, how it works. And basically, there are numerous factors at play of how this works. We've got EMAs, we've got MACD, we've got ATR, we've got I think that's most of them. Super trend and momentum. So there's like some ingredients into that overall recipe to add more confluence into making sure that these entries are more valid. Yeah, it's about making sure that all of these separate strategies all provide confluence into giving us our buy and sell indication too. Yeah, so that's where we started. So what we then did, if I reset this, is took it to new levels. And we took it to new levels because I wanted to remove the discretion from the trading overall. Let me get these ones on because I think the colours are right. So what I mean by that is there was discretion around where the stop loss is going to be. There was discretion around where the take profit's going to be. And there was also an issue whereby I couldn't prove that it worked. Yeah, I could look on a chart and go, wow, this looks nice, but I couldn't back it up with data. And that's what I wanted to do, to say, look, this is different. Yeah, this has got the data to back up that we have an edge in the markets. And that was really important to me, to add confidence into people using the strategy that was the case. So we then basically took the data and ran some quite substantial testing. And we had data initially from 2017, now TradingView archive each year, so that's 2018 to today. And one of the best pairs, to be honest, was GJ. And you can see here, these are super clean charts, right? These are super clean charts. And you've probably seen adverts on your Facebook from people like LuxAlgo and some others. And they've got the buy and sells on the screen, like how I'm going to show you. You can use this in a minute as well. But that's where the problem lies. Yeah, it might be okay, buy, sell, but where was my stop loss? Where was my take profit? And although I might have caught some pips, or I might not have done, I might have held that trade and then lost on the reverse trade. So that's a challenge, and that's one of the drawbacks of trading it in a particular way that I'm going to show you in a minute. So I wanted to create something that wasn't like that to start with, so we've got stop loss and take profit. It's super clean. Now you could set this up with an alert, so you could click alert, create a strategy alert, and when this trade is valid, it will ping. Yeah, it will ping to your phone, it'll tell you when it's closed, whatever. But you can also automate this, and I'm going to get to that in a minute. There are various tools out there that enable you to completely automate these trades to your account. Yeah. So looking at GJ with this approach, if we click strategy tester, and there's various videos, A on TradingView and B on my YouTube for this, we can see the equity curve, right? And we hit this period of drawdown this year, beginning of this year. And we were running this on our copy trade to start with, and it was going great to start with. And then we hit a drawdown period, which was quite frustrating. But if you go to our drawdown calculator tools within Discord, you will see, you know, because we've got this data, we can plan for probability. And ultimately, what happened and those losers were just in line with that pure mathematics on a win rate and what we could expect to see a losing run to be. Now, if you remember, you can see that in Discord. We can take that data and go, okay, well, we might, a 37% win rate, we might see a losing streak of, I don't know, I'm guessing without doing it, 7 or 8 trades. The risk management videos go through that. I'm not going to do that right now. And that's really important. But where we have an edge here is the average win to the average loss, which is 2.37. So the risk to reward here enables us, with that win rate, to have a profitable edge on the market. Now, where this edge won't play out is if we give up at these drawdown periods. Yeah. But this drawdown can be as big or as small as we want. All it's going to do is affect the net profit. Yeah, I could halve the risk, for example. I'm going to show you the settings in a minute. But this is, you know, a 449% gain with a max drawdown of 18.79% with just 679 trades since the beginning of 2018. There will be some variances to this data, and I'll summarize that at the end too. So it's important you understand that this isn't perfect. Nothing that we have ever anywhere is perfect, and it's understanding where those liabilities lie. But this is a sensible trade volume, so those liabilities are far more minimal than if this trade volume was to be 2,000 or 3,000. Yeah, which would be high, but there would be ways that we can trade that way through automation. But again, you're going to get a bit of a variance through things like spread, slippage, etc., etc. So yeah, that's where Edge got to with you know, these pairs. You know, we had this watch list, which is pretty much this. It's in Discord. If we look at Euro Yen, I think that had a period of drawdown, but then recovered. Here we go, period of drawdown, equity curve recovered a bit. Drawdown's a bit higher, but again, that drawdown is relative to what we plan for on a losing run and the percentage risk. So within the settings, yeah, I'm pondering this, but I might reveal what these are to enable you to actually capitalize on these inputs to work out what them ingredients are, and maybe if we can make them better, because otherwise there's a bit of guesswork between, well, you're never going to guess what the parameters are, but that's also our proprietary intellectual property within this strategy also. The other thing that we did was to add an ADX filter. So if you don't know what ADX is a trend filter, and because when we trade, when I show you how else you could trade this, we get periods of chop. Yeah, EMAs are horizontal, price is in a range, and that means we're going to hit consecutive losses. So we tried to remove as many of them as possible, and we did that by adding ADX. Now you can change the ADX levels, or you can remove it, and I'm going to show you the recent screenshots that I've shared with catching moves earlier is without ADX. Now there's an upside and downside of absolutely everything we do, and ADX is a good example. With ADX on, we might remove some trades that lose, but we're also going to be much later into a position because it's going to take a much bit more momentum to trigger that, right, this is a trend, let's enter. So with the ADX off, we're into moves far earlier, which also has an upside effect to the winning trades as well. So everything has a bit of balance, right? So on the screen here, we also added a lot size calculator that was integrated. So when you're trading this, you wouldn't have to work out, you know, what lot size do I need to use, and also multiple ways of managing the trade. Now, What we don't believe in is having multiple TPs. Ultimately, they're on there as a visual thing, but but the strategy test is based on I'm entering one trade, let's say at one lot, it either hits stop loss or it hits target. We're not part closing stuff. We're not trailing stuff. We did have a trailing stop loss thing that moved stop loss to entry over after TP1, and it had a negative effect to all of the profits. So what you might see people say, you know, don't let a winner turn into a loser, keep taking profit, all of this stuff is a bit mythical, really. If we keep taking small wins, a big loss is going to have a massive effect if you've still not got an edge in the market. And if you're part closing and trailing stuff, when you do have a big winner, it's not going to have the impact that it should. You're over managing your position. So we've also got follow trend. So that is basically, you could adopt a fixed lot size approach with that, or manage it using a third party like Pine Connector, TradingView.2, and we'll just follow where the trend is. We could use follow trend with a stop loss, and we can use a trailing stop loss function here. I wouldn't recommend using that because it's how you then get alerts from that and how you automate it. So for me, TP3, follow trend with a stop loss, these are all approaches that work, and it's personal preference which one works for you. We also added days of the week, we added session times, and clearly visually the charts are quite clean, you know, easy to see, easy to navigate. So that's pretty much everything in a box. Stop loss, take profit, yeah. Trade it manually, automate it, use alerts, use it to support your strategy, or this is an edge already identified, yeah, which works if you stick at it, yeah. There will be periods where there are drawdown periods, and it's about understanding, okay, is this a drawdown period that I've planned for, that's within mathematical possibility, or is it a potential strategy failure? And that's where you can use them settings to retest and take another look if that's the case. But what we've seen on most, and if we look at GJ, this drawdown period here, we did recover, yeah. And this drawdown period here looks bigger than these because the account is naturally compounding, yeah. Because we're trading based on a risk amount, risk percentage per trade, then these losses in monetary terms are getting bigger because the account's gone up by 449% since 2018. Now, if I change this to a fixed risk amount, so let's say, okay, I only want to risk £10 per trade, yeah? Then the equity curve is very, very different. So we've now got 179% gain and a 7% drawdown. And this, yes, okay, it's a bit higher of a period of drawdown than these small dips, but it's nowhere near what it was. This is still £10 risk per trade. And you can see we've recovered. So that's a bit about edge. It's a trend strategy. Edge trend is a trend strategy. And with trend strategies, we take more losses. Markets range more than they trend. So it's about making sure we capitalize on the winners. And that's why trend strategies have a lower win rate, but a higher risk to reward. And then we created edge reversal, which I'm going to get back to after I've also just shown you the other way of using edge trend. Right, so what I did here when I've shared some recent screenshots showing you how we've caught trending moves is using our settings, I've unticked predefined parameters. So that's ignoring what's hard coded on the 1 hour time frame, and there's more details in that in the Discord. I removed the ADX filter because ADX is going to delay us identifying what this trend is. And again, as I said earlier, there's pros and cons of that. I've basically shown target profit of follow trend, and we use, on the previous version, it's ATRs for stop losses and take profits, etc. Anyway, I've just done follow trend, okay? Everything's ticked, all sessions, etc., etc. Now, if you're using, parameter 1, by the way, is an EMA, and that's probably the main one. If we're trading on lower time frames, then logic dictates we have a lower EMA. If we're trading high time frames, you might have a higher EMA. And how you choose to adopt and execute this, again, there are lots of variables to it. So the screenshots I was sharing GJ that caught this. I don't know why my screen stopped here. Click off and click on. Here we go. Caught the the big trending moves in yen, this caught wonderfully. Annoyingly, my screen recorder stopped as I was jabbering away. Anyway, where we'd got to was using the follow trend and the buys and sells on screen, yeah? However, the stop loss and take profit would be discretionary, but you can use this however you want, yeah? The key, in my belief, is to remove as much discretion as possible. So you might use the last low, you might use an ATR-based stop loss, you might use it just to support your own view, whatever. It might just give you a bias of the overall trend to find, your own entries, or you take these entries. There's no right or wrong, okay? However, will this put you the right side of the market on big moves? Yes, that's a fact. Will there still be chop and things that don't play out looking at it this way? Of course, yeah, because we've removed ADX. So when there's no trend, your EMAs are going to be horizontal. There's not going to be much movement. So there's a clue. Maybe you wait for the next high. So here we had a buy. Maybe we wait to close above, these wicks or this level here. That's okay too. Whatever works for you. That's the key part. This sell didn't work out. And there'll be some people that say this is just an EMA crossover strategy. Well, it's not, is it? Because otherwise we wouldn't have got a buy before it crossed. We wouldn't have got this loser, yeah? Or maybe you even wait until it crosses because it hasn't crossed yet into a extra confirmation for a sell. Up to you. This is the thing, right? Numerous ways to use this, but does it help? Absolutely, it bloody helps. So if we look at high time frames, they'll all work to a point, but clearly the lower the time frame, the quicker we're into a move. The higher the time frame, the longer that's going to be. My computer's now stalling. Sorry, my internet stopped. That was very annoying. Anyway, we were about to flick to the high time frames. Now, you could increase the EMAs. Parameter 1 is EMA. You could increase that because if you're on a high time frame, you might want to do that. So GJ here, look, still in that massive uptrend, but this sell wouldn't have worked out, or would it? If you put your stop tightly above that candle, maybe you'd have caught something here. Depends on your money management. Lots of variables, yeah? This sell would have been a loser, you'd have thought, but that buy, big sell on, big buy on, big moves here on GJ on the higher time frames. But then, you could drop to the 5 minute and be, on your screen for an hour a day and try and catch moves when the volatility comes into the market, yeah? But you'll get caught on some moves like this that don't play out, yeah? But the ones that do, as long as you're letting your winners run and you've got an effective money management plan with it, should provide you with your edge, yeah? Subject to how you filter that. Now, the other thing that you could use to manage these trades, refresh that page, is when we automate it. TradingView.2, Pine Connector is another one. The reason I'm using the Pine Connector's website is because TradingView.2 doesn't really show this level of detail. But you could just, if you didn't want to copy the stop loss and take profit that we've got within Edge, for whatever reason, maybe you want to ride the trade longer, maybe you want to trail it, maybe you want to do different things like that, then you can actually use these EAs to do it, because you can set individual stop loss and take profit targets. You can pyramid even, adding more entries into a winning trade, which is awesome. Still close on reverse, which is important. You can, trailing stops, you can do numerous things. So what you could do is you could go, okay, well, I'm going to take the trade out. I'm going to take this trigger when it's valid. Yeah, that's all I'm going to take from this strategy. And then I'm going to use my own money management choices within an EA connector like this. Yeah, you might choose a specific stop loss based on GJ. You could do that. You could add the ATR thing. Again, lots of things. I'm going over the same thing here, but you could use it to trail that trend. So I'm gonna cut it there because it's a longer video than I wanted. But I've gone through edge reverse. I've gone through edge trend. I've gone through using the stop loss and take profits. I've gone through using it for directional bias in these big trends, and I think I've gone through them numerous different ways that you can use it to suit your own trading and approach too. Any questions, let me know.